Yo, what's good, man? Below the Rim podcast. We here heading to this interview. It's gonna be something special. Look out. Hey guys, welcome to episode 6 of Below the Rim podcast. Today we have a special guest with us today. He's one of my close mentors. He's an alumni of Paxton High School. Also was a boys basketball coach there, where he had back-to-back Final Four appearances, a Jacksonville University alumni, and he's still a pillar of the basketball community here in Jacksonville, Florida. We have here Toby Frazier.
What's up, man?
Yes, sir. So how is life, Coach? How is retirement? Well, coaching retirement going?
Coaching retirement is good. Been able to spend a lot more time with my family,
Yeah.
my dad, my in-laws, my sister. Been able to focus on myself, health-wise, mental health as well as physical health,
Yeah,
and
that's
just
important.
trying to move on into the next phase of life.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do you miss it at all?
I'm still around the game,
Okay.
so the game is the game as far as basketball itself. You know, but I know when people say that they mean coaching.
Yeah.
So, but the game has always been the game to me. So if I can watch basketball, if I can go watch a game, if I can talk to a kid, or go shoot myself, or get a workout in, that's still being around the game to me.
Okay. Okay. So, like we was talking earlier, and I told you when I was doing this research on you, trying to find all this information about you, I knew you were as a good basketball player, but to the level that when I researched the level what I found out, like I was like, dang, like he went to the ABCD camp, like that's not even around anymore.
Right.
But just talk about your experiences as a player, growing up in Jacksonville in this community, being from here, and then actually ending up back here your senior years to finish out your college.
Well, I'm a product of my environment. So the old school way, growing up in the park, playing
Yeah.
with the older guys, you had to pay your dues first.
Yeah.
The neighborhood I grew up in, there was two courts. They had a kid side, they had the grown up side, and you only got a chance to play on the grown up side if they had 9 and you made 10.
Yeah.
And one day I got a shot at it. I
Yeah.
made 10. They let me play, and so the pressure of not wanting to mess up, so they can ask you back. And I think, like around 8, 9 years old, I was invited into the older guys group,
Yeah.
and they kind of took me up under their wing, and I learned how to play. You learn how to play without the ball. You learn to communicate. You learn the importance of defense. I think that's my foundation. Along with that comes with respect and pride. Now you want to go represent those guys
Yeah.
that raised you to play that way. So a lot of people are surprised when they see my resume because there wasn't a lot of flash to my game, but being a true point guard, I really did what the job description said to a T. Like I was an old school traditional pass first, run the team, vocal, good on ball defender, and I can make an open shot if need be. But as far as running a team, there's not many people that can run a team better than I could.
Okay. So when you talk about growing up in the park, right, playing with the older guys, I did that as I was younger. When you first, like you said, you're it's not nerves, but it's like you want to be careful because
Right.
you want to continue to be able to play with them. How long was it before you took a shot?
It was a long time before you didn't get to take shots with the older guys, and that was I didn't realize how that would shape my game
Yeah.
as I got older. But you learn how to do other stuff. You learn how to move without the basketball. You learn how to pass. You learn protocol.
Yeah.
And you learn that you can be important part of the team without having to shoot the basketball. But the older guys didn't play. They didn't play that. Younger kids shooting shots. Like
Yeah.
you're only here to make 10, so you're not taking any shots.
Okay. All right. So moving on to your coaching, right? You were assistant coach when you started out. you were assistant coach at Jackson, Atlantic Coast. You were assistant coach at EWC as well. How did those experiences prep you for moving into that role of a head coach?
Being an assistant coach as many schools that I had the opportunity to coach at, it's like a cheat code. You get all the answers to the test without actually having to be graded.
Okay.
So I got a chance to sit behind some good coaches. Um, I think it's underestimated at how many kids you get to be around because the
Yeah.
kids turn over,
Yeah.
meaning that you just see the same kids over and over again.
Yeah.
It's just not a lot of difference in kids. So you learn how to deal with kids with bad attitudes. You learn how to deal with kids with work ethic issues. You learn how to deal with, kids that maybe is not as good as they think they should be and vice versa.
Yeah.
And then you're in those games where you see the head coach make a decision and it may not work out. And you can put that, in your toolbox and say, hey,
Yeah.
I remember when I was coaching with Coach so-and-so
Yeah.
and that didn't work down the stretch. So you have to, combine all those experiences. And, I didn't become a head coach until I turned 35.
Yeah.
So I was a lot more mature. I had a lot more experiences. And I think a lot of people don't realize that I've been around that long. When I retired, they would just remember me from Paxson. But,
Yeah.
I coached for, about 18 years
Yeah.
total before I became, well, I'd say 10 years prior to me becoming a head coach at Paxson. I was coaching at various high schools and of course, at EWC. But those experiences, to answer your question, is just that's who made me who I was as a coach. As far as the stuff more so outside of basketball as well, the
Yeah.
parent meetings, how to handle parents, how to handle study hall, conditioning, how to do your schedule, how to do pregame meals.
Yeah.
Like all of that stuff it flies under the radar, but it's very important in running a program.
Okay. Yeah. So outside of the having to come up with things on the fly as a coach, um, what was the hardest thing to deal with?
Um, so as a head coach, when I got the Paxson job, and I don't know if you've heard this story, but I like to tell the story because I'm not coaching anymore. But
Yeah.
my first 2 years at Paxson, the administration did not allow me to have keys to the gym.
Oh.
And it wasn't me, so to speak, like it was something against me personally. There was some stuff that went on with the previous regime where keys were, they didn't know who all had keys. And so they tried to rein everything back in, started out with a fresh locks and all
Yeah.
that, and they just wanted to, manage it how they felt um, need be. But as a basketball coach, it just felt real insecure and a little disrespected, knowing that you trust me with the kids, but you don't trust me with the building. So that was difficult because we had to practice other places. I had to practice at other high schools. I had to practice at the Legend Center, at the YMCA on weekends when we couldn't get, of course during the school week, school is open, we can get in the gym, but on the
Yeah.
weekends I had to find places to play and for the kids to practice because I'm still responsible for the program. So that was the toughest thing, like owning your position, not making excuses and having to get it done regardless of the circumstances.
Okay. All right. That's a crazy little 2 years. And I do remember you guys over Christmas break, my senior year, y'all came to Atlantic Coast to practice. So I assume that was the
Right.
reason why.
Yes, it was.
That's crazy. That is crazy. All right. So you had a short tenure at Paxton. I believe it was 7 or 8 years there. But it was a successful 7 or 8 years. What contributed to the success and rise of Paxton so quickly?
I think my plan and my approach to how I coach kids, I need good people.
Okay.
I don't need a good basketball player. Good basketball players help, but I'd rather have a good person that's not a bad basketball player than have a good basketball player that's a bad person. Because at
Makes
some
sense.
point, it's going to come to a head, and the kid is not going to listen. He's going to be selfish. He's not going to do what he's told. He's going to rebel. So I made a commitment to myself and to the program that I would try to make sure that the program had good kids in it as people. So I'm looking for good attitudes. I'm looking for unselfishness. I'm looking for kids that smile. I'm looking for kids that have a sense of humor. I'm looking for kids that are academically inclined, they're interested in learning, they want to be good students. When you have those type of people, your coaching can really shine through because they're going to listen, they're going to buy in. Every now and then you have a kid that, you try to meet him halfway. He's not all the way there. I'm not saying I was a drill sergeant, but for the most part, the program was founded on kids that were good people. And I found that when you have good kids, it's easier to coach basketball when you have a group of guys or a group of young ladies that they really buy in, they believe in what you're doing, they believe in doing what's right. You have less problems off the court. Kids are better because they're playing stress-free basketball because they're not getting in trouble at home. They're not getting in trouble at school. So you don't have a kid at the free throw line in the middle of a game thinking about, dang, I lied to mom about, doing my homework. I didn't do my homework. Like all of that stuff, kids carry that with them in games. And I don't think coaches realize that when you got a kid playing stress-free basketball, you're getting the best out of that kid day in and day out. So that comes along with being a good person. And, that was my goal. And then from there, you know, the basketball and what I'm able to do and what I have inside of me as a coach, you saw it through my program.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right. No, that's crazy. So during your tenure there at Paxson, you had a player, Isaiah Adams, Mr. Basketball, right?
Right.
What made him different from everyone?
So Isaiah really loved basketball. Like he was one of those kids, like he just loved the game. He loved to play. He didn't always like the work that came along with it,
Okay.
but never been around a kid that shrunk in a moment. Every big moment, he rose to the occasion.
Yes, sir.
Love being out there with his teammates. I think the most underrated part of his game was his passing ability. He loved to share the basketball. People used to see the dunks and the blocks and the 3-point shots, but I thought his best asset was him passing the basketball. But he really loved basketball. He wanted to be good. He wanted to be a pro. He had dreams. He had aspirations. He's had some adversity as a kid with his mom, with them being homeless and his siblings. So he has an incentive. He came in with an incentive to be great and be good. And, he played with a chip on his shoulder.
Okay. Oh, yeah, nah. Sometimes that story you have pushes you to be a lot better than you would be without it. So going into your last year of coaching, was that decision made before, during, or after that final season?
So you never know, honestly, because I think all coaches say that at some point during each season, like, man, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. But I had my mom passed in my last year of coaching. She passed in December 2020.
Oh man, sorry to hear that.
That August, thank you. That August, she and I had a conversation, and I told her, I said, I think this is going to be my last year. And I just knew for a fact she was going to say, no, you can't leave those boys. Those boys need you, blah, blah, blah. And when I told her, she said, son, I think you've done enough. And I was surprised by that because she's always, when I played at Paxson, she was the team mom. She's always been pro Paxson, one of our biggest cheerleaders. So I just knew that she would say I couldn't do it. And when she said she felt like I did enough, it kind of lifted the weight off me because it's hard when you're doing something for the benefit of people. You start to search for reasons to do it for yourself. And my coaching style and my coaching ability has always been catered towards my kids and the community and the program. It's never really been for me.
Yes, sir.
But it gets to a point where it's hard to keep doing stuff for other people. You have to find some drive for you, and it's hard to do that with my coaching style. It's about other people. So that August, when mom kind of gave me the okay, I think that's when it started. Then I was like, you know what, this could really. And then when she passed away that December, I was like, I'm good with it. Okay. I'm at peace with it. Yeah. I can just move on. So.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
All right. So your relationship with your mom. Let's touch on that. How was that relationship? I know you said she was one of your biggest cheerleaders. When you went away to Georgia, you went away to Texas, how did it feel Because I'm sure Georgia, she may have been able to go see some
Right.
games. But Texas, how did it feel like not having her there?
So that's the first time I cried separating from my mom when I went to Kilgore. So I remember getting on the plane,
Uh-huh.
and this is back, pre 9/11, where you could go to the gate and sit with your loved ones until they actually boarded the plane.
Mm-hmm.
And, you just being a young man, you feeling how you feeling, sticking your chest out. And I
Yeah.
remember sitting down in the plane seat, and I just started crying because I didn't know where I was going. I knew I was going to Kilgore, Texas to play basketball. I didn't know the coach. I didn't know any of the teammates. I didn't know where I was be living.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know nothing about the city. I didn't know the internet wasn't, you couldn't go Google and look and see where you're going. So it was really tough leaving that way, and just thinking about not having that support system
Mm-hmm.
there to see her face a lot. But she did make it to 2 games. We had a tournament, and her and my sister flew out. And my mom, being who she was, she went to the grocery store, made banana pudding
Ooh.
for the team. And but she's always been my biggest cheerleader. And I tell people what I miss most about my mom is um, I realized losing her, now I don't have somebody that I know that's praying for me every day. That's the biggest thing. My
Yeah.
mama was a big prayer warrior, and
Mm-hmm.
she had a real strong faith. And I lost that, not losing her presence, because the way she raised me, we kind of know that we all have to leave here.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing that I lost somebody that was praying for me every day, that knew me and knew what to pray for me, because she
Yes.
knew her
Yeah.
son, that was a big loss. But I've always felt like the need to go ahead and represent her well in the way I
Mm-hmm.
live my life. And she always said, "Son, just go be the man that God wants you to be." And I try to live my life that way.
Okay. No, that's a good way to live.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go back into basketball, Coach. I got a video to play for you. All
Okay.
right, I want to see your initial reaction to this video, and I want to just know your response to it. All right.
So, hey, that's tough. So, I've been conflicted about that, since I retired, because I say, I didn't actually lose
Mm-hmm.
my last game. And and then we did lose the game.
Uh-huh.
Not taken away from what happened that last game. Uh, the kid made the shot.
Mm-hmm.
It was waved off. We later found out it was good. And that's just how it is
Yeah.
sometimes with the game of basketball. But I felt so bad for my kids.
Yeah.
Because if you lose, you want to lose. Like, you want to know, okay, the buzzer went off. He didn't get it off in time.
Mm-hmm.
The other team wins. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But that was tough for me. There was no conversation from the referees. There was no convert. There was nothing. They kind of ran off the floor
So they just caught it and ran
abruptly.
off.
They just called it and ran off. And
Jeez.
usually in those instances, especially with it being a season-ending game,
Mm-hmm.
the referees usually come together and say, "Hey, what did you see? What did you see? What did you see?" And that didn't happen. It was like, let's hurry up and get off the floor. I remember running into the locker room with the referees, and I think I actually picked one of the guys up. So one of my friends had to grab me. And it just was, I didn't want to hurt him. I just was like, y'all can't do this. You can't just leave the floor.
Yeah.
But that was a tough night,
Yeah.
just to see my kids. And there was so much doubt because we didn't know if the Florida High School Athletic Association was going to overturn it, or
Mm-hmm.
people were sending film to them. And then, I got a text like midnight from the AD saying, "Coach, that's it." So it was different for me because I knew it was my last game.
Yeah.
Nobody else knew it was my last game. So I knew it was it for me.
Yeah.
So that was tough. I don't think my wife even knew at the time that was going to be it. But I was saying to myself, like, man, this is a tough way to go out.
Yeah, that is a tough way to go out. That's crazy. I was on the other end of that my senior year. The guy actually hit a game winner on me. And it sucks because that plays in my head
Right.
like all the time. And then just me having a lot of pride, just getting scored on at any time of the game. I hated it.
Right.
And then just for it to be the game winner, it was I'll never forget it.
Right.
It went in slow motion. The guy shot it, and I'm looking back over my head, and it's all net. I'm like, ah, dang.
Right.
Um, all right. So as you said earlier in this interview, you're a big pillar of basketball in Jacksonville. Right now, where do you see basketball in the city, and where would you like to see the improvements?
Right now, I think we're in a lull right now, and each city has peaks and valleys with the talent.
Yeah.
You have good classes, you have not so good classes. We have to keep focusing on the smaller kids. You can't correct the problems with the kids when they get older.
Okay.
You have to start with the younger kids. You have to start with the foundation. I tell people all the time, like parents are really, really critical of where their kids go to pre-K school, the daycare center, because that's the start, that's the beginning. You should be the same way with athletics. Like as far as the teaching and the environments, you want to make sure with sports, it's just easy to say, oh, just let them play wherever they're playing at the Y, they're playing over here, they're playing, just let them play. And then when they get to middle school, now it's starting to get a little bit serious, but they've missed 5 years
Yeah.
of a good foundation that they possibly could have had, and it starts to show later on. I would like to see us, be more uniform from the foundation level. There are some baselines in basketball that are never going to go away. Shell defense,
Yeah.
knowing where your man is relative to where the ball is, ball handling, staying low, not looking at the ball while you're dribbling, form shooting, holding your follow through, boxing out on defense,
Yeah.
a defensive stand. There are some baselines that everybody should know, regardless of who the coach is. And then as the kids get older, they carry those things with them, and then they can get into the intricacies of each individual coach.
Yeah.
But I would like for us to see be more uniform at the baseline. I would also like to see us have more kids playing for free.
Yeah.
Kids don't play enough for free. Kids only want to play now if they're paying to play, whether it be AAU, whether it be a trainer. But you got to get in those free parks, on those free courts, and get 9 of your buddies, and y'all go play pickup.
Yeah.
Like there's no compensation for playing too much. Overcompensation, I should say, for playing too much. That's where you learn. You learn from your buddies that you're playing with. He may do a move, you may take that move, or something may happen, and you may like, that's not going to happen to me again. But you can't replace the competitive environment of playing. We got to get kids back playing more. It doesn't always have to be a controlled environment. Like let them work it out. Let them call fouls. Let them manage the game. Let them pick what score we're going to. Like all of those things, you'll start to figure out who really wants to play and who really doesn't want to play. But as long as it's going to be controlled environment, there's going to be cameras there. There's going to be an audience there. There's going to be a crowd. Kids are going to want to play in those environments. You really figure out who really loves the game when it's just a blank court and it's just not me and 9 of my buddies, and we just play the best 3 out of 5 or the best 4 out of 6.
Yeah.
Until everybody's tired, or we got other guys on the side and let them get next and let them pick their team. They're learning management skills.
Yeah.
They're able to watch and say, oh, I don't want him on my team. He doesn't play defense, or I don't want him on my team. He shoots too much.
Yeah.
Like those are all the lessons that you learn in playing pickup basketball. We got to find a way to like get back to that.
Okay. All right. Yes. That was a lot.
Yeah.
But that is crazy, especially the baseline. Normally when we ask that question, it's more about touching them like in high school, like
Right.
training them and getting them to do the right things. But I think I think that's the right mindset of catching them young, because when you give them good habits while they're young, they keep them. So as they get older, they're going to keep building those good habits.
Right.
And I think that's actually a good way to look at it.
So it's like I tell coaches, you don't want to teach a kid geometry before you teach him basic arithmetic. So I got to make sure as a coach, you know how to add, multiply, divide, and subtract.
Yeah.
Before I could teach you algebra.
Yes.
I got to make sure you know how to solve an equation in algebra before I could teach you geometry, angles, proximity. all of these things involved in the game, but we are trying to teach kids geometry before they know how to add, before they know how to subtract. And it
Yeah.
looks good,
Yeah.
but they can't apply it in a pressure situation because they don't have the foundation.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right. So, moving on to October 21st, at Potter's house, you're gonna have your Jacksonville's coaches clinic. Tell us about that event. Tell us about that event.
So the coaches clinic last year, I started it last year along with myself, Coach Jerry Buckley at Bishop Kenny, Coach Maurice Willie here at Potter's House, and we just trying to provide some type of education for our community.
Yeah.
I love Jacksonville, so I'm not a big social media person, but every now and then I look and you see a clinic going on in Orlando, a clinic going on in
Yeah.
Tampa, Miami, Atlanta, whatever it may be. So I'm like, why not Jacksonville? Like, we're a premier city in the state of Florida. Why should our coaches have to travel? They can if they want to. If you choose to travel to go see maybe a particular speaker that's speaking you want to go see, that's fine. But if you don't want to travel, know that something is coming to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So I felt the need to take the lead on that. Last year we did an all defensive clinic with myself and the two coaches I just named, and as well as Coach Tony Watson, who's now is the new coach at Atlantic High School in Delray Beach. But this year we've stepped it up a little bit. I have Coach Johnny Harris, who's the head coach for women, Auburn's women's basketball program. Mike Taylor, who's the head coach of the Winnipeg Sea Bears in the Canadian Elite Basketball League. We have Coach Mike Fly, who's the associate head coach at Jacksonville University. He's the former head coach at Florida Gulf Coast. And we have a basketball legend and Mr. Tom McCory, who's been around the game for 50 years.
Yeah.
He's in the 5-star Basketball Hall of Fame. So I was able to put together a good group of coaches. And my whole mission is just to provide continuing education for our coaches in the community to come out, learn some new concepts, learn a different way to say something that you already knew. I'm excited, even though I'm not coaching, but just because I like to learn, and I just love seeing the game being taught.
Okay. Okay. So, who are you? Who do you think should come out to this event? Yeah.
Anybody that's involved with basketball should
Okay.
come to this event.
Okay.
In my opinion, it's going to be a great networking event for coaches, high school coaches, middle school coaches, AAU coaches, regardless of what level that you coach is basketball.
Yeah.
Some of these speakers, this may be the last time that you get a chance to even meet this person, hear this person. It's good for relationship building, and then it's just going to be a great learning environment. And I feel like the learning piece is so imperative because as coaches, we have to stay empowered in order to empower our kids. So I want to be the best coach I can be so I can help my kids. I want as much information as I can have inside of me so I can push it back on my kids. So it's not necessarily about what I know or what I don't know. Let me go learn as much as I can. That way I'm more equipped to coach my kids.
Okay. All right. No, that's good. So last question I have for you. All right. For the assistant coaches coming up, I believe you have to be an assistant coach before being a head coach. I mean, I think it teaches you a lot being able to watch it from a view of you, like you said earlier, you're not actually being graded, right? You get the answers to the test, but you're not being graded,
Right.
right? So why is being assistant coach important? And then on top of that question, what makes a good assistant coach?
So I think it's important to be an assistant coach just from an experience standpoint. In basketball, in my opinion, you're only as good as your experiences. And the more experiences you can have, the more things that you've seen, the more scenarios, the predicaments, and you get to a front row seat to see somebody else have to go through the fire. One thing I loved, and I teach Coach Ross at Atlantic Coast when we were at Atlantic Coast, after the games, I just got to go home. He had to deal with parents. He had to clean up the gym. He had to wash uniforms. But I just got to go home. But at the same time, I saw those interactions and I saw how he did it. I just think it's important for your growth and development. It's no slight to be an assistant coach first. There's no, it's an element of paying your dues, and I think there should be an element of paying your dues. But just from an experience standpoint, like build up your toolkit. You'll learn a lot of stuff that you should do. You'll learn a lot of stuff that you shouldn't do, and you'll have a lot of takeaways. And then when you get your own program, you kind of have a guide or a map to say, okay, hey, let's go this way. I remember that stuff didn't work when I was here. I'm not going to say this to that kid because I remember how that didn't go well. I'm going to have my parent meeting like this. I'm going to do the scheduling like this because people like to travel. Like you just learn so many small things. And, the second half of the question is the importance.
Yeah. What makes a good assistant coach?
So a good assistant coach, you don't want a yes man. Like you 24/7 devil's advocate. Like you and I tell assistant coaches, young assistant coaches, when you go to your head coach with a suggestion, you got to be able to support it. You got to be able to say why. Yeah. Hey, coach, I think we should go zone because. Hey, coach, I think we should, try to play a little bit more faster because. Hey, coach, I think so and so should come out of the game. It can't just be opinionated. You have to have some supporting evidence. Yeah. Coach, the last 3 possessions, he hasn't boxed out at all. We got to get him out, coach. Like, it can't just be, coach, he got to come out. Yeah. You have to give me something. Okay. You have to give me something tangible. Yeah. You always want to study so you can present stuff to your head coach. He may accept it, he may not accept it, but you constantly want to be his other voice, his other brain. That's you putting stuff in front of him. Hey, coach, I saw so and so play last night. They ran this play. Hey, coach, we may need to put this in for the playoff. Yeah. Like you just want to keep feeding them information, and then you want to own the message. Yeah. So whatever the head coach's message is, whether you agree with it or not, you have to own the message. It has to be one message. It can't be you're on the bench during the game, and then the game is over and you lose the game, and now you're having a sidebar conversation with a parent and like, yeah, he should have played a little bit more. I didn't know why he didn't play that much. And then you're having a sidebar conversation over here with somebody else about, like, you have to stay unified. You have to own a message, even if you agree with the message or not. Yeah. And you have to just be a support system for your head coach. Yeah. Realize the importance of your job. Make everything easier on him if you can. Yeah. As much stuff as you could take away, whether it be taking kids home, whether it be washing uniforms, as much stuff as your head coach will allow you, because you're going to want to be a head coach one day. And I tell assistant coaches, be the type of assistant coach that you would want. So don't carry negative thoughts with you when you get your head coaching job, right? Yeah. Now you see your assistant coach talking to a parent. Yeah. You remember what you were telling that parent. Yeah. So now you're like, I wonder, is he telling the parent what I was telling the parent? So you want to keep your graces good. Yeah. Keep your thoughts good. Be positive. I just used to go home. I didn't talk to parents. I'm going home. Yeah. Like, that's my guy. The head coach is my guy. You're not pitting me against my guy. Yeah. We're all on the same side. So if I feel like I can't handle that, I'll just leave. If I feel like I can't handle telling the parent, no, I'm not talking to you about that, I just leave and go home. So very much needed though. Yeah. Assistant coaches are very, very good. Assistant coaches are in a high demand. And they're hard to find, but they're very necessary.
Okay. All right. Well, all right, Coach. That's all I got for you today, man.
Appreciate it, man.
For coming out. All right, guys. Don't forget, October 21st at Potter's House, Jacksonville Basketball Coaches Clinic. What time does it start?
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
to 1 p.m.
9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Don't forget to come out, guys. Thanks for watching. That was it. Whew.